Okay, lawyer, let's go right into how we calculate so that brothers and sisters out there will know when the new year come in and how to calculate it. Let's go to the book of Enoch 72, verse 31. Now, why are we going here? Now, it's simple to find the first day of the year if you know when the last day of the year is. Common sense will tell you, if you know the last day, the next day after that is what? The first day. So to make it easier for you, because I know a lot of you may go into Jubilees and Enoch and you get all tired and get frustrated because you seeing these parts and that part and the moon going to this portal, the sun going to that portal. And by the time you go through all the information, you're so tired in trying to understand it, you just put it down and leave it all together and say, well, I'll just go off faith that the brothers and the elders and all the other brothers that are teaching know what they're talking about. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it where a novice, an 8-year-old child that's listening intently can actually do the same research we're doing here and get it right on. So instead of dealing with all those portals and the things that'll confuse you, let's just go to the last day of the year according to Enoch. Now, why are we going to Enoch? Well, we understand, brothers and sisters, that Enoch was a righteous of the Most High and was taken into the heavens, not just to be taken. He had a duty to bring the judgment of the Most High to the fallen angels who brought forth evil within the earth when they landed on Mount Hermon and began to teach evil to the sons and daughters in the earth of Adam, sons and daughters of Adam. Now, it tells you in the book of Enoch that the angels came down and bounded Azazel in the desert Dudiel, which we know is what they call the Pyramid of Giza. So even though they try to put pharaoh names on it and attribute it to the modern day or even the ancient Egyptians after the flood, the pyramids have nothing to do with them. The pyramids was used as a burial and a holding of fallen angels, and it's a time stamp. It's a time stamp also, and I'm going to go into that in a future lesson. All right? Because there is information that gives us the beginning of Adam to the consummation. Everything that's written of in the book of Enoch is in the pyramids. It's in the pyramids. Okay? And the other two that was built were also built by the sons of Seth, with help by the spiritual luminaries before the flood. All right? And I'm saying this because the Egyptians, or those that are dealing with Egyptology, would like to ascribe all knowledge to the Hamitic Egyptians or the sons of Mizraim. And that's not so. There was a purpose for those particular constructs. There was a purpose for them. All right? Now, let's go to the book of Enoch 72, verse 31. And yeah, real quick for those who might be listening to this, just a footnote. Azazel, the fallen angel that was bound, that's written up in the book of Enoch, there's another Egyptian name for him. You know what it is? Osiris. That's Osiris. So when you hear the myth of Osiris and Horus and Isis, it's the worshiping of fallen angels and women and children that were named demigods before the flood. Later picked up on the other side of the flood in Babylonian worship. Okay? Now, again, going back to the original calculation of how you know and can calculate yourself the first day of the year. In order to find out, you must know what the last day of the year is. So let's go there. Let's start at the 31st verse. We're in the 72nd chapter of Enoch, 31st verse. Read it.
The book of Enoch, chapter 70, verse 31.
No, 72.
72, Salakia, verse 31.
Go ahead.
And on that day the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises to the third portal 1:30 mornings, or for 1:30 mornings.
1:30 mornings, because we know the last month is 31 days.
And sets in the west of the heaven. Verse 32. And on that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts.
So that means 9 parts day, 9 parts night. So that's equal day and night. See that? That's equal day and night. Now, I want you to see something. We have the coordinates from Mount Sinai. And what I want to do, I'm going to put this here so you can see the coordinates from Mount Sinai right here. Now, why Mount Sinai? This is where the Most High is speaking to Moses from, right? Now, let me show you here. And this information was sent to all the elders and the brethren before the class. So you all have this in your email, the elders, to be able to teach it yourself with all the links. Now, this is pretty small, but they go right here. One moment here. Right here. I need you to read this right here. Let me get it here. Let me get the paper showing the equal parts day and night here. No, there's a sheet of paper that's showing just the equal parts day and night. It's marked. See, one moment here. Check that paper there. No, that's not it. Yeah. Well, let's get right to it here. It's okay. I'll just show them here. I need you to read this abbreviation here, and I just sent this to all the elders that's out there. Read this time scale.
This time scale is kept by time laboratories around the world.
Go ahead.
Including the U.S. Naval Observatory.
So you would have to go to the U.S. Naval Observatory site to get the time of equal parts day, equal parts night. Why? Because they calculate down to nanoseconds. A lot of people go to the time and date site. It's okay too, but it don't calculate down to the second. Read.
And is determined using highly precise atomic clocks. The International Bureau of Weights and Measures makes use of data from the timing laboratories to provide international standard UTC, which is accurate to approximately a nanosecond, which is billionth of a second per day.
Read.
The length of a UTC second is defined in terms of an atomic transition of the elucent cesium, under specific conditions and is not directly related to any astronomical phenomena.
Now, pass me the computer real quick so I can show the time. All right. Okay. You got it?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay. Now I know you all can hardly see this here, right? But we have a calculation from the Naval Observatory for the first day of the year. All right? Now, this information was sent out, and I'll read it for you. Okay, you taking pictures of it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just 1 second. Just going to give them the times. What we have here, it says for the last day of the year, what we read in Enoch was 9 parts night, 9 parts day, which was the last day of the year. We're looking here on day 15 of March. What we have sunset on the 15th, 5:57. And we have sunset. We have sunset on the 16th, 5:57. And as you can see here, right here in red, if you can see it here, that's equal parts day, equal parts night. And that's going into what? Friday to Saturday, which is what? The last day of the year. So when the sun went down, or will go down on Saturday, you're going into what? The first day of the year, which we are in. And it's actually on their calculations, but they will never give you this place to research where there's equal parts day, equal parts night. And for those who can't see this clearly, when Santee do the video, he will actually take this part out and put the document in its place. Equal parts day, equal parts night. 15th to the 16th. Thank you. So if you know the 9 parts day and 9 parts night going into the last day, you know when the sun go down, you're in the first day of the year. Now we've done the calculations, and it's flawlessly from week to week, 364 days, from year to year. And you can do this backwards all the way back to creation if you would like. Okay? Now that I gave you that information, gave you some of the places of the sources of the links we use, and showed you what not to utilize, hopefully you can begin to follow the Sabbaths and the holy days correctly. And that brings us here. It brings us to, if that's the Sabbath, which is the end of the year, you count 7 days, you're in the first week of that year, which is the first week when the Lord says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. And then the following week, the second week, which is the 14th, you're into what? you're into the Passover. And that's how we calculated the Passover for the 29th. The Passover have always been, on the Most High's calculation, Sabbath. It has always been Sabbath. Okay? So, we answered those questions. We also gave you the links in which you can see the same information we see to understand how to calculate. Now, here's something very deep. That when you put the calculations in from Sinai, you must put in the coordinates of 33 degrees to get the proper time. Now, we know that Christ was crucified at the age of 33, the beginning and the end. That coordinates is where the Most High was speaking to his people. It's the beginning of time. So he was giving us a timestamp and a geographical location. And that's why at the very end where we are now, they're doing everything to keep us from going into those particular areas, knowing that that will be the same area in which the Most High will guide us while we're keeping the Sabbaths in the wilderness. They're doing everything they can so that we cannot connect back to our Father. Okay? Concerning the Sabbaths. Now, one moment here. I hope I answered the majority of your questions here. And also, the detailed information I went into was sent out already. So if you have any questions, you can deal with the elders and deacons in your respective areas after they've went over the material. And of course, they'll be able to answer those questions as well. So let me open this up for questions for the next couple of minutes. And if y'all have questions here concerning it, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Oh, one other thing I wanted to go into. Real quick. I'm sorry about that. Hold up. Exactly, for those who asked that question. The first day of the year is sundown Saturday. Because why? It's the first day. Sundown Saturday begins a new week. So you have to look at the year as a week. You got that? It begins Saturday sundown. It ends when? Friday sundown. Same way a week begins and ends, a year begins and ends. Same thing. Why? Because 7 goes into 364 flawlessly. The year will always start Saturday sundown. The year will always end. What? Exactly.
So they've just made it complicated for no reason, really, haven't they?
Exactly. By following the moon, like the Most High warned us from, is what confused us. It was just 7. And it's deep because in the beginning, that's all it was. 7. Only thing we had to do was just stay on that. 7. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Next 7, Passover. That's simple. New Year, 7. Every 7 days is a Sabbath. The second Sabbath of the New Year is what? Passover. The Passover was always on a Sabbath. And by us dealing with the moon, we was doing it on whatever day. If it fall on a Tuesday, you do it there. Fall on a Wednesday, you do it there. You fall on a Sunday, you do it there. It was always on the Sabbath. And that makes common sense. If you know when the Sabbath is, there's no excuse in not hallowing it. It falls on a holy day. It's simple. You got it? Okay. Now, the other point that I wanted to make real quick, and we were discussing it beforehand, and I wanted to say it real quick, and this is not to dissuade those who prep. When you hear about right now, people are going through a prepper phase where everyone is online as being preppers. Right? And I wanted to bring out one scripture concerning that, because a lot of preppers don't know that what they're preparing is you're preparing a stronghold or food possibly for someone else to eat. All right? And I'm saying that because the Most High told us when this thing break out, we must be like what? Pilgrims. That means your heart cannot be into your substance. It can't be into, well, I'm going to retire in 4 years. You may not be here in 4 years. It can't be in, oh, I put so much work into this house and I put my spirit into it. Well, listen. Hey, you got to be like a pilgrim. Why? Because the Most High have things prepared for you. Somebody else may be prepping something, but when it goes down, because they don't have the faith and understanding, they're going to get moved out of the way, and you're going to look around. They're going to be like, yeah, there's an empty house up there. You can stay there for a week. And you're going to look, it's going to be, man, where all this food come from? It was preppers who was not preparing for them. They were preparing for those who believe. Our preparation is spiritual. And Christ gave that example. Let's get that in Luke real quick.
This is the book of St. Luke, chapter 12, verse 15.
Read.
And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness.
Covetousness is the desire to heap things unto yourself. Covet, like some people may covet cars or covet shoes or clothes or things that embodies their uniqueness. And then Christ is going to give an example of that. Read.
For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth.
It's not the abundance of the things that you possess. You think that if you get all this stuff together, that it's going to be okay for you. But that's not the case at all. The reality that you must deal with is that whatever you have or whatever you need is provided all over the earth. That you have to get this in your mind too. That food grow other places. Water run other places. If you get into this mindset that, well, hold up, this house is mine. Yes, it's yours, per se, legally, but it was built within a construct that could be taken from you. That's the point. It's like you're living on someone else's construct, so you can only own according to their rules. So I put it out there all the time. Brothers and sisters need to think more so of renting than owning anything. Why? Because when this whole thing crashes, and it will crash, the only thing that's going to be left is what you put into it. What you will own will be on your back when you're put out of it. That's it. You're going to look at it like, my house. They're like, no, it's not your house. It never was your house. Why? Because you were paying on it. Anything you own, you don't pay for anymore. Okay? Listen to this clearly. So you're renting anyway. If you don't believe that, stop paying your mortgage.
Even if you don't pay your
It's just, mortgage is, listen, it's like they're calling it something else. In England, they call it let.
So
And-
even if you have even if your mortgage is paid off, stop paying the council tax.
Yeah,
See if it's yours.
Mark just made a great point. Even if your mortgage is paid off. Now you think, oh, I didn't pay my house off, I'm good. Stop, don't pay the taxes on it. What happens? So you're still renting. Why should I be taxed for something I own and it's not costing the government anything to keep up? Taxes is usually for keep up or maintenance. So what are they maintaining for you? So why are you paying them taxes if you didn't paid it off? It never was yours. Listen to this clearly, what it say in Scripture. Go ahead.
St. Luke chapter 12, verse 16.
Go ahead.
And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. Verse 17. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do?
Now here's someone that's good to do. They have finances to operate. To show you it's deeper than finances too, because a lot of people say, well, man, look, I don't have the money to do anything. If you're rich in spirit, you'll survive what's coming more so than Donald Trump or any rich person out there. Because you're already used to the struggle. You're already used to just trying to make something work. So they're going to look to you for guidance. Listen to this clearly. Read.
And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits.
And these are people who got it all going. They got fruit. They got trees busting out and oranges and saying, look at my cabbage. And you got people prepping everywhere, man. Look at these greens. And I'm like, man, they didn't get the drone memo. The reality is, yes, it all looks good now. You even got brothers who are coming together saying, well, listen, let me put my money together. Let me get a place somewhere in the United States. And we're going to do our own thing together and just do some, diggings. Listen, I'm not going to dissuade that because that's a good idea. Because you'll need those, even if you put off the land now, you know how to till. But I'm just giving a perspective to say, listen, deal with the reality that place that you are, you will be displaced. You will be moved off of that land. Or the Most High would not have told us, be like pilgrims in that day. Pilgrims is, hey, you must learn to operate and be content with what's on your back in the spirit of the Most High. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time. Not how much you got on a 401k or whether or not you stockpile silver, and not saying that all these things are not okay to have if you need them for bartering. But all in all, don't let that be your security. Right? Finish reading what you have.
St. Luke chapter 12, verse 18. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns.
I will pull down my barn.
And build greater.
I will build greater. Read.
And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. Verse 19. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years.
Yeah, I'm okay now. And if there's a collapse, I'll be okay. I got my food stored. I got my canned goods. I got my weapons. I got this. I got that. I'm all right. Now I'm ready for the collapse. And then what did Christ say?
The end of verse 19. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry.
Let me eat, drink, and be merry. I'm okay now. Read.
Verse 20. But the Most High said unto him.
But the Most High said what?
Thou fool.
Thou fool.
This night thy soul shall be required of thee.
You die tonight. Read.
Then who shall those things be?
Who will eat that food? Who will sleep in that big house? Who will go into the areas that's stored? Who did you really prepare that for? Read.
Which thou hast provided.
Which thou hast provided. Especially if you on the social network showing everybody where you are and what you are preparing and what you're doing. I mean, if you understand that we've been born into a war, the last thing you need to do is tell people what you're going to eat, where you eating it, what you're using. Oh, you got this gun. Okay, I need y'all to go with this gun. Here's the gun to take down that gun. Okay, how many people you have there? Okay, this is the amount of people that can subdue those amount of people. How much food you have there? And the example I can give, and I look at news in the reverse manner. I was checking out how after Iraq fell, all the troops, the British and the American troops, were eating and drinking and living in Saddam Hussein's palace. Everyone else was just examining the whole thing. But I was checking out, and I'm like, man, I know he didn't have no idea that all the resources he stored up and all the power he had up in those palaces was actually for these troops. It was all up in his refrigerator, living in his house. His house became a bunker. And not only that, think about this. That's a president of it. That was a president of a sovereign country. Now, if he couldn't prep, okay, think about it. These are the things you have to think about. Now, I'm not saying don't be in the mindset of preparation, but don't let that be your salvation. Don't let that be what. Don't get in the mindset that this is what the gospel is. Here's my gun and here's my cans of corn. It don't work like that. I'm ready now. The scriptures is telling us this. Right? Because I'll tell you how the Most High would work. He'll have some person like that dealing with all that. And here it is. Those of the faith need refuge. And you'll come up and somebody say, well, listen, there's been a house empty for a couple of weeks. Be like, yeah, y'all seem like good people. The Most High just have them just show grace to you and open the door, and you'll go looking through the house like, man, it seems like this house was made for me. And you'll go downstairs and look, man, the cupboards are full and all that. Like, man, they got food up in here and everything. And you know what preparation you did? Your preparation was spiritual. You're following the Most High, keeping the commandments, doing what's right, trying to sustain and trying to stay spiritual. You understand? And then the Most High sent the Holy Spirit to guide us when it was time.
But didn't he do that with the Israelites? He moved them into the land of Canaan and he moved the people out first.
Exactly. That's the example. The people of Canaan thought that when they built that great city, that great country, that it was for them. But those places that they built, they actually laid the foundation and construct so that we can go in there and just have a city to live in a country already built. I mean, they sweating, you know what I mean? The arms up here, and chiseling and all that. They done made themselves a city. They had giants moving rocks and everything. The Most High was like, okay, and told Joshua, have them just march around Jericho. And I'm gonna have the city fall on them. Clear the debris. Y'all have a place to live. Right? Finish reading what you have.
This is St. Luke chapter 12, verse 21.
Go ahead.
So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is not rich toward the Most High.
That's the key right there. You laying up treasures for yourself and not rich towards the Most High. Now, it's not saying that people shouldn't prepare and have some substance. Not at all. But if you have some people where prepping have become their religion, that's off. Because it's not going to be through the work of their hands. It's not going to be through that's going to get them through this. It's going to be through the grace of the Most High and the Spirit of the Most High guiding us through. That is what's going to sustain us. And then you have to get used to the days where there is no food. You're going to have to get used to that too. It's not going to always be good. There's going to be time where there is no food. Okay? It's going to be rough times. Okay? Finish reading.
Verse 22. And he said unto his disciples, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body which ye shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and the Most High feedeth them. How much more are ye better than the fowls?
Exactly. So if he feed the birds every day, and the birds never think about working or toiling or anything else, but he makes sure the birds eat, how much more will he take care of us? That means we need to stop the worrying. The prophecies of the end and seeing what's going on in the earth is not for us to panic and worry. It's for us to, it's more so that we can cleave to the Most High and have faith that his will is being done in earth. That everything he said would happen, our Lord, the God of Abraham, Ahijah, everything he said would happen is happening. And he's going to tear down these empires and build us. So we don't have to panic. He'll take care of us. The next point, answering some questions real quick. If y'all have some, I'll be more than glad to answer them. I think I went into this last week when someone asked about Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 43:7, when it says about the lesser light that decreaseth in her perfection, talking about the moon. And it says that it's a sign of feast. I answered that last week. Listen clearly. Again, we're not saying that you cannot read the signs from the moon and the stars, because they are doing certain things while the sun or the year is in its 364-day course. But it's impossible to read that sign of the moon if you don't know what day of the year you're on, according to the 364-day cycle. Okay? Okay? So yes, it tell you that Issachar and the tribes had that information on how to read that, but it wasn't just looking at night. It was based on their knowledge of the 364-day cycle, or knowing when a year began. Like the example I can give you in Enoch, when it shows what the sun is doing, it's also showing on that day what the moon is doing. See that? So it's not calculating from the moon. It's showing you what the moon is doing on that particular day that's already calculated from the 364-day cycle from the sun. Okay? All right, let me unpause. One moment, I'm going to pause and see if we can answer. Can you see that, lawyer?
Oh, yeah.
All right, real quick. Let me do this real quick here.